Hello and welcome to the ThePreGameNetwork News Hole, a series where we recap a few things we heard throughout the week. Not necessarily everything and all the big news you'd expect, but a few things we heard and thought were interesting. This episode is for the week of January 26th, 2025. Let's get started. On Thursday, January 31st, after 4 years filled with leaks, disappointing content strategies, squandered potential, confused gameplay changes, and false starts, Player First Games announced Warner Bros. Crossover platform fighter Multiversus would be coming to an end with its 5th season this spring. Despite its record-breaking first launch back in 2022, the game struggled to maintain a healthy following during its first release period, as players expressed frustration with a grindy free-to-play unlock structure for content and weak content schedule. The open beta period only adding 6 additional characters in the year it was active, before unexpectedly closing in 2023 when it was originally assumed to be rolling into its official release. When the game relaunched a year later, it did so with a host of stability issues, worse gameplay, and only 4 new characters to earn during its first season, with one of them being unfinished and locked behind a grind that was impossible to complete until a month after launch. This new official launch was to a similar audience but worse momentum than the open beta 2 years earlier. The result of a lack of reception to feedback, surprisingly low-quality single-player content, a confusing reluctance to leverage content from available IPs, and a painfully slow release schedule. The final season of Multiversus has a start date of February 4th and will run through May 30th, with the game's final 2 characters, DC's Aquaman and Looney Tunes' Lola Bunny, being made available at the start. The season will also see a great many gameplay changes and new costumes to earn, a sudden burst of new content and fixes that has many onlookers wondering where this pace was when the game was struggling, but still savable. As the season concludes, all online services will be shut down, but the game will remain available offline for any player who downloads the game prior to the closure. On Tuesday, January 28th, the digital platform Good Old Games announced its Dreamlist project, an open voting system where players can vote on games they'd like to see added to the GOG storefront. This new program is set to replace the former community wishlist feature, and is being marketed as a significant preservation effort. Players and fans can cast their votes and even write up their own stories to advocate for their cause and drum up support. GOG plans to leverage this collected data to negotiate with intellectual property holders and publishers, aiming to resolve the issues that have kept many classics off modern platforms. While this initiative aligns with their existing commitment to preservation, interestingly, the effort appears to show that GOG will be willing to negotiate for brand new ports of games never before seen on PC, with games such as the PlayStation exclusive Silent Hill 1 listed as an option. GOG kicked off the announcement with the release of Dino Crisis 1 and Dino Crisis 2 on the storefront, and shortly after, many games began receiving tens of thousands of votes, with franchises like Black and White, Silent Hill, Command & Conquer, The Sims, and Warcraft gaining traction quickly alongside standalone classics like Chrono Trigger, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and Age of Mythology. Mixed in with these early leads were legacy ports and niche choices like the first PC port of Final Fantasy VII, American McGee's Alice, Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, Freelancer, and Oni. Going forward, the Dreamlist will likely remain a crucial tool for expanding GOG's library, and in some cases it might be the only glimmer of hope for games that have been forgotten or neglected as time moves on. In both cases, it will be a unique opportunity for players to voice their demands for support, with successful campaigns resulting in functional ports designed to be DRM-free and kept compatible with modern and future platforms. It was an interesting week for the Guilty Gear series and its modern-focused fanbase, but not for the reasons many would hope for. In preparation for the spring release of their anime, Guilty Gear Strive Dual Rulers, the first trailer for the series was released. Shortly after, many remaining older fans and even some of the more easily bought new fans reacted to the disproportionate usage of the character Bridget, who, despite his past and present popularity, ultimately has minimal story presence in the games and seemingly even the upcoming series. This was enough to get people arguing about him again, and he quickly overshadowed discussion about the show, its questionable quality, and other story or design changes. Within the week, the only extra information put out about the anime on social media was about Bridget and his new voice actress, Manaka Iwami, which featured a little slip where she was quoted as saying, "It's been such a joy to bring him to life again." This led to another uptick in arguing around Bridget and whether he's perceived as a man or not, a frequently recurring topic since his return in 2022. The message was seemingly hastily translated, but for whatever reason took 5 days to re-upload, and by that time the argument was all anyone was talking about, as many feel that everything around him when it comes to an official stance on the matter seems like they're either trying to contain something, are intentionally fanning the flames of the arguments, or are failing to actually maintain what was ultimately a senseless pandering move that has led to non-stop hostilities in various communities across the globe. Speaking of those communities, this same week, a competitive Strive player, Amaron Davidsi, known by the handle Makosi, was exposed for grooming minors after inappropriate communications with girls as young as 15 surfaced, echoing many cases of sexual deviancy going on within the community, such as when prominent player Umisho, known for acting out fetish play at tournaments, fled from the community after helping further false allegations of sexual abuse that arose when the occurrence of orgies at Strive events was revealed to the public. Meanwhile, back in reality, Strive's popularity continues to wane, with its player and viewer count losing to those of mainstream competitors like Street Fighter and Tekken, as well as niche releases like the latest port of the now 19-year-old Virtua Fighter 5, something that was visible at the recent Frosty Faustings, a long-running tournament that was founded and formerly centered around the Guilty Gear franchise. This downward trend for its reputation and popularity is likely to continue as more average people wake up to the kind of community the game attracts and fosters, with the changes made to its characters and gameplay, along with the added issue of the cultural capture of the fighting game community at large. As noted here in the news hole back in August of 2022, the arguments about Bridget, and however he is portrayed, have bled deep into the series and is now directly connected to its popularity in the modern mainstream. The issues will stick with the series like a stain until the greater cultural issues surrounding his current portrayal are resolved or until Arxis makes appropriate changes. Until then, the biggest news you can expect from the series are reveals of more predators, discussions of character gender, and desperate attempts by Arc System Works and its now Western-led Guilty Gear to regain or maintain the mainstream attention they held in 2021, as all the things they catered to are exposed for what they truly are, and as the reputation of the series is tarnished by the worst the fighting game community has to offer. And now, some smaller stories from throughout the week. On Thursday, January 30th, Studio Midnight Society announced that it would be shutting down after releasing no games whatsoever. The studio was co-founded late 2021 by live streamer Herschel Beam, known by his online persona, Dr. Disrespect, with the goal of building new genres of first-person shooters developed around experiences with existing popular franchises like Call of Duty. Their first project, Dead Drop, was described as a vertical extraction shooter and initially had a heavy focus on non-fungible tokens and other blockchain technology, something they leaned away from as their 3 years of development progressed. The studio terminated its relationship with Beam in 2024 after allegations surfaced of inappropriate contact with a minor, and it appears that despite having veteran talent from both the Call of Duty and Halo series, the studio was unable to survive or garner any real interest without the backing of his clout. Microsoft and Xbox had big news this week that is exciting for some and worrying for others. The announcement that Forza Horizon 5 would be making its way to the PlayStation 5. This move marks the first time a core legacy Xbox IP, which has been a console exclusive since the series began in 2005, will be available on rival platforms. It remains unclear whether or when this strategy will extend to the core Forza Motorsport series, which remains exclusive to Xbox and PC. Both branches of the Forza franchise have been consistent performers for the Xbox, making this shift particularly notable. Xbox fans are worried the move means that other major exclusives could soon be finding their way to the PlayStation, such as Halo or Gears of War. But for now, many average players are happy to joke that PlayStation 5 is finally getting some games, nearly 5 years on. And that does it for another week of the Pregame Network News Hole. If you encounter anything you'd think we'd find interesting throughout the following weeks, send it our way. Thank you for listening. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.